there's many sources of American inequality, but if you wanted to get to the root of it, to pick one thing, it's compound interest.
Yeah.
Like, that's the ball game. So actually, you have a generation of people who don't participate in that, who end up being skeptical of capitalism. So in a certain sense, what you're doing here is you are cultivating a generation of Americans
who are not patriotic and
who win through capitalism.
Yeah.
Right. So when they graduated at the age of 18, compound interest through the success of the stock market and capitalism is no longer a source of bruised salt on a wound, of envy of somebody else's success, but the success that allowed you to have a $250,000 nest egg to be able to get a head start in the American dream.
And they believe in America more.
But it does not take a lot of money. I mean, in terms of, we're talking about percentage of the federal budget, percentage of savings of waste from the federal budget invested in this, it's tiny. It's like infinitesimally small fraction.
But then you have a bunch of loan shark businesses like, oh, access your money now with this huge interest rate. And when you turn 18, you sign that whole shit.
I think you shouldn't be able to do that. So I think, and here, I'm a libertarian, generally libertarian-oriented instincts when it comes to adults. Kids are not the same as adults.
Yeah.
So if you put that in the bank account of a kid at 4 months old or at 1 month old or on the day of his birth, it has to be fully invested in the diversified stock market over a period of 18 years. When he's 18 years old, he gets it out. I would make it tax-free. That is a down payment on preserving American capitalism. I have a lot of ideas like this, right? But it's the kind of idea that's responsive to your question.
But real quick, it's not just an investment in capitalism.
And by the way, this is not even my idea. This is idea. Other people have had these ideas. But what we really need is people in office who are willing to think outside the box to be able to advance a vision for the good of all Americans, embracing capitalism rather than, because what happens then when the kid graduates at 18, but the other guy had his parents contributing to his Roth IRA, 15 grand a year, that graduates with that versus not, he's going to have hostility towards capitalism.
Of course. Why would he
he's
not?
going to be jaded. He's going to be naturally envious. And then, I'm not saying that there isn't CEO overpay, because we talked about the structural reasons why there is, but then you look at that as the root cause of the problem, rather than the fact that,
it's funny.
If I was given the same economic opportunity, could have started my own business at 22, but I can't.
And now
I'm pissed at capitalism.
If you pass this law, it would be an actual Patriot Act. You would be creating people who believe in America.
Let's repeal the old one.
Trust,
the other Patriot Act wasn't so much.
They feel patriotic.
Make this point.
They're
This is really great.
America gave me $150,000 by the time I was 18. Capitalism is great. I trust the stock market. It's not out to get me. Totally. America is great. I believe in this system.
There's one group called Invest America, I think, have been advocating for this. There have been others who have been advocating for it. It's not, one of the things I've learned as well is that intelligence is not our problem in the country. Actually, most people in America have common sense. What we lack is courage, actually.
I think we just lack.
What we lack is courage.
I think education. I didn't think that was coming.
I think it's
pussy.
No.
Damn. First we were dumb, now we're a bunch of pussies.
No. It's education. We don't understand what these systems are. So how can they work for us if we don't even fundamentally understand?
He's saying for politicians.
I'm saying politicians. I think
that's good to clarify, because I interpret.
I thought you were talking about people.
No. I'm talking about what we lack in the class that I'm in right now of people with policies. It's not that they don't know the stuff that I'm telling you.
But did you see how he interpreted it and how I interpreted it? I interpreted immediately as we didn't have the courage to put our money in there and then let it stay.
What I'm talking about is we as politicians people in the political class lack the courage to be able to do what's outside the box as a correct
because you want to get elected every 4 years, not you, but they want to get re-election.
I actually think this happens to be a pretty good electoral strategy, probably.
It will over 20 years.
Over 20 years. The same compounding period. But
to what you were saying is it's not only investment in the stock market, it's not only investment in capitalism, it is an investment in America. You want to see America flourish because when America is flourishing and American businesses are flourishing, your money is flourishing. You get to watch your money work for you.
Totally.
And again, I didn't understand this. When I had my daughter, my wife and I were sitting, with our business manager, and they started telling us about these different things that we could do. We could put our money in for my daughter's college fund now.
Right, and you get tax deductible. Exactly. So that's what I was referring to, people in the Roth IRA account. That kid is actually graduating with some of them six-figure payday.
And there's so many people that don't know that.
And it's tax-free growth.
Exactly. I'm unaware of
that available for the everyday American. And in fact, if you did that for every kid in the country, there's no loss to the country. I don't think that the taxpayer burden, you don't have to increase taxes an iota in order to pull this off. You would find more than a multiple of this in just government waste, excess cutting, bureaucracy at the level I want. And then you get to 18 years old and you got people saying that, you know what, this capitalism thing isn't so bad, actually. And, you know, somebody else might have more money than me because then they use that money to start some other tech company or whatever. And I'm happy for that because that still served me as a customer, but I'm bought in. I've got skin in the game. I think that that's far better than, I'm not being critical of other people's, you know, universal basic income. I get the instinct. But that creates disincentives to work. This is where it's at. Because there, you're still in the income category. Where here, you're talking about being an owner. Right? This is true. You're a capital owner, an asset. Make it tax-free on the growth. And then by that point, when you show up, you are a capitalist in the sense that, not just a theoretical sense of it. I'm a capitalist when I'm 18 years old because the country that I grew up into through its economic success was not a source of my envy, but my participation.
It's also education by participation and inertia.
Right.
When you see your money working, you go, I'd like to continue this.
And
you
by the way, I better understand that, and I can do the math that tells me that because I started getting to a good preschool that taught me how to do math at a younger age rather than getting to 8th grade.
Or even taught you about how finances work. Totally. I went to good schools. Pretty good. Like, I was never taught this at all.
Yeah, totally. So I think that this is achievable. This is not, none of what we're talking about here is rocket science. What this requires from a political class is, it's not that they lack the intelligence or the ideas, they lack the courage, which is what brings me back to why am I in this game? I do think that people who are willing to lose, if necessary, you'll be willing to lose means that's not your career, it's not your livelihood. But people who are willing to lose on the power of their ideas can then still stand for their ideas.
Yep.
That's what I think is going to actually.
But career politicians won't do that.
Yeah, career politicians won't. And this is one of the reasons I like Donald Trump, by the way. He's not a career politician.
Yeah.
Say what you will about his first week, which I think was a great first week. He didn't use the usual assembly line model. He came in and did a lot of stuff in that first week in a way that you wouldn't see from a career politician. And when you think about a president or a governor, whatever it is, executives who lead, you want them at this moment in his country's history in particular to be people who are willing to break things when necessary, as long as the mission is the betterment of the whole country.
Include all of us in the success of America. And I think right now, the average person, the middle-class person, and the people who are impoverished do not feel included in the success of the economy or the country. They feel left out. And that might be educationally. It might be strictly just their inability to invest in understanding what it is. But that education of those systems, how they work. And I also think there's a little part of it where it's like, if these funds are incentivizing people to gamble, it's not really investing. They might be doing it because they're making fees per transaction.
Oh yeah,
get rid of that fees per transaction.
Actually, you shouldn't be.
You're tricking us into.
Put it in the S&P 500 or whatever index it is at the lowest possible fee. Don't transact, and then just let it sit there.
But they're not incentivized. These hedge funds are making money per transaction. They want us to make these trades,
brokerages or whatever. It doesn't.
But can you explain how that works? Because I think that's very important.
I do think that. And I've done this in other scenarios, but so the other conversation we were having, because that's just kind of the mood I'm in right now, not just today, but like in this period right now, is I've written extensive books and articles about how the system is rigged and all that stuff, and I could do more of that. But I feel like right now what we need is to make sure we don't just, as we were talking about earlier, stop there, because then we're just victims. I want to just talk about actually what we're going to do to overcome
we have the solution. Right? What I'm saying is why we're in the place we are.
Now, here's what happens. A lot of money managers, they'll manage your money, but they take the fee. If you take the fee out, that reduces the compound interest. The fee is almost a negative compounding effect over time, too. And then you get the monkey to the dartboards analogy where they've done this experiment where you have monkeys throwing darts at a board of stocks and often outperform half of these wealth managers that are out there because the wealth managers charge the fee while the monkey doesn't.
Yeah.
So in many ways, I do think that people are set up to be screwed by the facts they were never given. And I think that sunshine and education is a great toolkit. But I do think that there is a role here at a young age where I'm not a government redistributionist guy, welfare state guy, but here for every kid born in the country, I'm behind this. If every kid born in the country is bought into the stock market and compounds at the diversified rate over the course of 18 years, we're good.
And by the way, looked it up at 10%, it becomes $55,000 at 10%, which is kind of conservative.
And how long?
So like in 18 years. So imagine you got $55,000 when you're 18.
I think you can make a case for
do whatever you.
I think you can make a case for that number being even $15,000 or $30,000 per kid.
It could well
starting off.
I'm being conservative.
And then you're talking about people who are like straight up wealthy when they graduate, well off enough still hungry enough to be able to use that and start their own business or invest further on their own account when they're 18.
Or pay for college and not be drowning in debt.
And then some. You pay for, I mean, we're talking about this model, you're going to pay for college and then some.
Yeah.
And for some people, in college is not the right solution for everybody, especially by that point you have a skill set. You might be able to start your own small business, be in a trade or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Every person is able to do the thing that we want in America, which is to realize your own God-given gifts. They're not the same God-given gifts, by the way. We all have different God-given gifts. That's true diversity. But the country that we know and love is the country that recognizes that difference, stops trying to pretend that we all have the same skills and everything, because we don't. And that's a beautiful thing, actually. It's not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing. But to say that we are the country where no matter what those unique God-given gifts are, you get to achieve the maximum of that potential without really any man-made obstacle standing in your way.
Yeah.
These are the kinds of solutions, starting with early education, early economic empowerment. The family one, I will grant you, I didn't give you a fully satisfactory solution because there's no government-ordained solution there, but basic issues that I believe we can actually tackle, right? And I don't think that our political class has taken a great interest in addressing over the course of the last 20
Because they're not
years.
incentivized to do it either.
No. And a lot of it's not the federal level. And I don't mean to be, pitching my own book here about what I'm doing next. But I do think a lot of the action there is at the level of the states.
I would love to see you
show
do
what's
this.
possible.
I would love to see you do this in Ohio.
Yeah.